football, finance, the game versus the business. Our very own Sanyade Okoli, CEO of Alpha African Advisory, penned an article on LinkedIn about the business of football versus the passion of the sport. She was inspired to write it in the aftermath of the collapse of the Super League, following the withdrawal of 6 Premier League teams, plus other teams from Spain and Italy. Interestingly, Bayern Munich of Germany and PSG of France never signaled their interest in joining. To Ghana, the Hyundai Automotive Group, majority owner of Kia Motors, has announced a new automotive plant in Ghana due by the end of 2022. According to Alan Kerimaten, Ghana's Minister of Trade and Industry, the local assembly of vehicles will create about 3,600 direct and indirect jobs in Ghana, and the addition of components and parts manufacturing will also add about 6,600 direct and indirect jobs. Sanyade Okoli joined us earlier to talk about those headlines.
What we're seeing here, Rotas, is essentially a battle for the soul of football. And we're seeing this battle across many dimensions. So there's the battle between what I'll call the financial owners and the emotional owners of football and football clubs. Then you also have the issue of, shall we say, sporting culture, where the European Super League structure that was being proposed is closer to the more closed structure of North American sporting leagues than the pyramid structure that we see more representative in the European leagues. And then at another level, you have the issue where the growing disconnect between the football clubs, like domestic football clubs, and the governing bodies such as UEFA, and where control and power lies. So what we have seen really is this issue, or these various issues, being brought to the edge with this proposal of this European Super League.
Now, okay, let's put that, there it is. All right, there it is. Put the quote up for our viewers. Okay, we just had it a second ago, but we'll put it back up. All right, there it is. Okay, so there's a quote from the article. Now, with what happened with the outcome of this Super League, we had David Cameron come out and say that he would possibly put in legislation that would, now this is theoretically if it had happened, he would put in legislation that would have prevented teams from joining that Super League. Can sports teams legally be considered a national interest?
I'm not sure that is something that had necessarily been contemplated before, but I think what has become very apparent over the last few days is, well, certainly we've been reminded as to how important football is in particular nations. At the end of the day, in somewhere like England, speaking more specifically, football for so many people is very closely linked to their national identity. And what this Super League proposal has done is to essentially threaten their sense of identity. And we know that governments do have the right to put in place measures to protect anything they believe is of national interest.
Which can include sports.
Well, they can put the laws in to ensure that they can protect something like sports if they believe it is sufficiently important to safeguarding the national interest of the country. Okay,
now, so had Johnson gone ahead and put that in, it would have been considered protectionist, right? What would the impact? What would have been impact?
It really would have depended on the nature of the laws
itself
that are put in place. Part of the question is, as you said in that quote, there is this disconnect between the frameworks that some of the owners of the top clubs are used to, as I said, the North American structure, and what actually obtains in Europe. Some people question the legitimacy of having, for want of a better term, foreign investors come in, invest in these clubs, and seemingly desecrate what has been for a very long period of time.
Yes.
But how do you, in this day and age, begin to put laws that would limit the investment participation of foreigners in a football club?
Right, exactly.
To my mind, it's a very tricky and it's actually a very sensitive issue.
Indeed. And you see, and that sensitive issue is between fans who, in this case, I think 4 of those clubs are owned by Americans, where they feel that they don't know anything about the sport and they are corporate raiders who are just coming in. So there's a debate there, because these are still for-profit entities, right? Manchester United, Juventus are publicly traded firms that have, on stock exchanges in their respective countries. Can any type of mitigation be put in to prevent these folks coming in and, according to fans, desecrating their clubs?
I don't think it's a can. It's really, it does have to happen.
Okay.
Because the bottom line is, there is an issue. There has been growing discontent with some of these domestic leagues, and particularly the top clubs, as I said, in terms of control. And COVID had a significant impact on their revenues. Broadcasting rights, sponsorship income, tickets, gate fees, etc., etc. And it put a severe strain on the finances of some of these top clubs. And they're looking at how they mitigate that issue. Now, the proposed structure may not have been deemed suitable, but the issue does remain. And collectively, those who are in the position of influence need to look at a way forward that addresses the concerns of football as a business and football as a sport.
Great stuff. It really is a touchy. It really is a touchy topic between the two. We've got a couple of minutes. I do have to ask you. I'm sorry. Every time Ghana there's an announcement of some investment in Ghana, we all up in ours. There was a Twitter announcement, and now Ghana's announced Hyundai and Kia. So your thoughts on, and there's the tweets. That's the tweet from the Minister of Investment and Trade, Mr. Alan John Keir-Martin, and also I think the German ambassador, Mr. Christoph. So Sanyade, your thoughts on this, which is a straightforward investment decision, but Nigerians keep feeling like we're missing out.
Okay, so bottom line is back to what we're even discussing, competition.
Right.
There's always competition for capital.
Right.
And if you want to attract capital, you have to make yourself as attractive as possible. The reality is, when you look at key metrics for ease of doing business, Ghana is ranked significantly higher compared to Nigeria.
Right.
For something like car assembly, etc., which we'd expect to be require quite a bit of power, Ghana's in terms of power generation per capita is more than double Nigeria's. So you can see how it becomes more attractive. Ghana, despite the pandemic, enjoyed a little bit of growth and forecast to grow almost double the rate that Nigeria is forecast to grow.
So
their literacy rate is higher, etc., etc. So yes, Nigeria, we have a large market, but we need to find ways to ensure that we actually optimize the size of our market. Just being large alone is not enough.
CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your insights.